Welcome back to AM Northwest. You know, you can't avoid conflict. Oftentimes, you can't solve it, but you can manage it. Here to share the 7 questions that you can ask to stop conflict, we welcome back our confidence coach, Laure Redmond. Seven questions that you can ask.
Yes.
Really to solve a conflict.
Yes, because...
Have you put this in practice, Laure?
Well, I'm going to just switch the word solve to manage.
Okay.
Because we can't often solve conflict, which is why it gets so awful. And I don't know.
You mean everybody won't agree with me?
Right.
Darn it.
Have you heard others say this is the year of conflict?
Oh, no, but
Speaking of
that
the
kind
new...
of, kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So these are
sense.
ways to manage it with a new approach
Yeah.
that actually gets a lot more relief in the two people that are in the conflict than trying to solve it or agree.
Okay. So the first thing you say is to eliminate persuasion tactics. But isn't that the whole idea of trying to solve a conflict, is to get someone persuaded to come to your side?
I think that's why 70% don't get solved,
Right.
because you can't persuade. But you can ask the question, tell me more about how you feel in this situation of conflict. The two people, tell me more. We often hear that, tell me more. The idea, though, is that we each get to be heard. You get to tell me your side, I get to tell you mine. I like to take notes when you're the listener. I think of you sometimes
that's key, you have to listen.
Well, and I think of you as one of my favorite journalists, and my thought is, act like a journalist, take notes. Do one of Helen's interviews by really being aware of what this other person is saying, because you're such a good listener, and I think
I mean, that depends on if it's here or at home.
Well, yeah, that's true. It changes. But my point is, if you both have a turn to say how you feel about a situation, that's how you start to manage the conflict, and you take turns.
Verbalize your responsibility.
I really like this question, and it's a hard one for many hotheads. But the question is, tell me what you heard me say that created the conflict for you. So tell me what you heard me say.
Yeah.
And then you're actually taking responsibility for what the other person heard. And when you hear what they say about that, try to get a feel for the emotions underneath it, which is often what the heart of the conflict is. It's not what you're arguing about.
Right.
But if you are willing to ask that, you're taking responsibility for your part. Even if you don't agree with it or think you said it, it's a way to show up responsibly.
That's a great idea. Promote collaborative problem solving.
And that's this, I love this idea. If at the end of a conflict you can both agree about what actually was the problem, it's asking each other to say, hey, what do you think the key points were that were the problem? And then at the end of that conversation, hopefully you've got like a mission statement, like, oh, this is what we were actually upset about. And it means that we're both taking just the key points from what we both understood. Now we understand what the real conflict was.
Do you have an example, like an argument that you've been through, maybe with your partner?
You know, often when I'm in an argument with my partner and I ask, you know, what did you hear me say? I can then understand, oh, so we're actually in a conflict about your abandonment or my abandonment, which is often what is underneath it.
Right.
Now at the end, when we are speaking, it can be much clearer. Hey, were we arguing about our abandonment or were we arguing about the fact that you didn't tell me you were going to go on a trip for the next week?
Yeah.
Right? Like whatever it is, like we're both agreeing, oh, it was the abandonment that was the conflict, not the trip.
Don't hold tightly.
This is a really good one for just being free of the conflict, which is to say at the end of the discussion, can you both say, what are we willing to let go of and move forward? Okay. It's the move forward part. And you decide, yes, we are going to let go of this. We do want to continue in this relationship that's maybe at work. This doesn't have to be a at-home conflict. Right. You're in the office. At the end of that, hey, can we both let go of this and move forward? Okay. And then make sure you both agree we're letting go.
We're letting go. And don't bring it back up.
Yeah.
Don't talk to others about what happened.
That's how you know if you've let go, because you do not want to go forward and tell people about this. Maybe your therapist or coach, but you want to ask yourself, am I willing not to tell other people about this conflict to prove that I'm right and they were wrong?
Oh, yeah.
And if you cannot tell others about it, other than in a professional environment, which sometimes is necessary to process, then you know you've moved on and you're not creating longer conflict energy. Because when you're telling a friend about it, the conflict is still active.
Forgiveness protects the mind.
And that's asking yourself if you are willing to let go of what you believe is the worst feeling in your body about what happened in the conflict and move towards forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because if you're just circulating through the anger or the feeling of low self-esteem, you're not in forgiveness.
Yeah.
And forgiveness frees your mind.
Yeah,
and the
true.
quality of your life is the quality of your mind.
Believe your own failure rate.
Ask yourself how often arguing has been successful.
Not so. Not so.
It's just not a good proven way to go. If your voice gets louder or you keep making your points over and over again, you're still not going to get relief. You're not going to persuade the other person. It's not helpful to argue, so just stop arguing.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Laure.
The year of conflict. We have to work it out.
Work it out. All right, happy Friday, by the way.
Thank you.